Research shows that hunger affects people's health as well as their ability to live productive lives. We are joined by Sandy Bukula, the Interim CEO of Operation Hunger, to discuss the gaps and the opportunities that exist for South Africa as we redefine nutritional equity. Sandy, a very good afternoon to you, ma'am. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start by talking about food accessibility in general, but also within the context of a pandemic, which most of us haven't, been exposed to in our lifetimes. One imagines that this made an already bad situation worse.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So basically, the IPC in food security analysis projected that between January to March 2021, about 11.8 million people are expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity. Now, this means that these people need urgent action to reduce food gaps and livelihood protection. Mm-hmm. And of these people, approximately 2 million, which is 4% of those people, are expected to be in emergency, and 99.6% is already in a crisis, as reported basically last year by the end of 2020 quarter. By the end of 2020, the last quarter.
Yeah, it just seems really quite crazy to me, the fact that we have so many people in our country that are going hungry, that are on the brink of starving. But at the same time, we also have a lot of, food waste in the country. And I just wonder how, those extremes are able to sort of coexist and why we can't find a way to make sure that there isn't food waste, because there are people that need the food.
Yeah. So one of the key reasons to remember why millions of people suffer from hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition is because they cannot access, afford the cost of healthy diets. Yeah. So to sort of address this hidden cost nutrition crisis, equity is basically we must shift our approach dramatically in two ways, where we are focusing on food and health system. That is what would actually enable for us to basically address the food wasting as well, because if we actually incorporate food wasting in the full coverage of food systems, that would actually make a huge difference.
And of course we know that we live in one of the most unequal societies in the world. When we reflect on nutritional equity, where exactly is South Africa in that space, if we're going to look at how bad the situation is?
Well, it doesn't help that we were challenged by our own inheritance of the previous systems, and the systems as well as structures that affect our daily life conditions. So South Africa at the moment, it's still basically sitting at only is expected to only fulfill 2 out of 10 of the global nutrition targets by 2025. Yeah. So that tells you that basically, even the small wins that we've made were basically, were vastly reversed by the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, and as we celebrate or commemorate Human Rights Day, how do we go about the issue of, and the very important issue of the right to food, and how we adequately then address the issue? Because my concern is always around, we talk about the issues, but things remain the same. So where exactly should we then be starting in terms of addressing this issue?
I think first we must address the inequities in food systems, and we must look at from production to consumption. Yeah. Because I'll just look at one area, for example. The existing agricultural system are largely focused on the overabundance of staple grains like rice, wheat, your maize, rather than producing a broader range of more diverse and healthier foods that are not necessarily part of our commodities. Yeah. And I think if we were to diversify this element and allow for small small-scale farming and urban farming and many more, it would almost amplify a new space for market, not only to just address, like the food insecurity or the food unavailability, but it will directly, assist in terms of allowing for people to create and redefine their economic strengths, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Sandy, it's always a pleasure having you here on SABC News with us. Thank you so very much for your input.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely a pleasure. Thank you.